Okay, so this is episode 3 of our unwhitewashing series. This episode is titled Why They Were Scared of the Real Jesus. The main theme of this is Jesus as a threat to empire and why his revolutionary message had to be watered down to keep power in place. So, let's be real. The real Jesus wasn't safe. He wasn't soft. He wasn't here to make the Roman Empire comfortable or keep the religious elite in power. He was a threat. That's why they feared him. That's why they killed him. And that's why, for centuries, they've tried to tame his image. Right? It's Jesus versus the empire. And talking about the empire, for a second, Rome was the world superpower of Jesus' time. It was brutal, it was controlling, it was obsessed with order and domination, especially over people. And there comes this brown-skinned, working-class Jewish man born under occupation talking about a new kingdom. A kingdom not built on domination, violence, or wealth. However, on justice, on love, and flipping the system upside down. That wasn't just spiritual, right? That was political. And to empire, that was dangerous. Jesus was a disruptor, y'all. He said things like, blessed are the poor, right? Quote, woe to the rich, end quote. Quote, the last shall be first, end quote. He flipped tables, literally and figuratively, in the temple, inner and outer reality. He confronted religious leaders. He healed without permission. He broke Sabbath laws to center people over rules, right? He was a rule breaker. He wasn't following the system. He was interrupting it. Think about that. And what you've been told about how he moved, what his intentions were. Think about that. Why did he do all this? For what? Right? Now, with him doing this, they labeled him a threat. They watched him. They near stalked the man. They plotted, and they crucified him. And the empire had to erase that version of Jesus. See, an empire can't survive a Jesus who makes the oppressed feel powerful. We can get into that later. Common knowledge should allow you to become aware of the reality of oppressed individuals gaining positions of power or feeling powerful. So, what did they do? They rebranded him, right? From a revolutionary to a religious mascot, from a liberator to a lawgiver, from someone who stood with the marginalized to someone used to control them. They made Jesus into a symbol of obedience, not uprising. And this matters today, still to this day. In churches, schools, art, right? You have to understand that churches, schools, and art were the entities, the beings that created lines of thought, culture, if you may, right? Even now, in present day, in churches and schools and art, We're still taught the safe version of Jesus. However, the real one, the one who disrupted systems, loved radically, broke religious boxes, and preached liberation, that Jesus scares people. Because that Jesus, right? Because that Jesus shakes foundations. That Jesus can't be controlled. So, I'm calling on you to reclaim the power. Let's reclaim that Jesus, the one who wasn't afraid to speak truth to power, who stood with the poor, the sick, the criminalized, and the colonized. Not the Jesus of empire, right? The Jesus of exodus. Not the Jesus of fear, the Jesus of freedom. So, drop a comment. I want to know, what stories about Jesus inspired fear in people in power? And how does that Jesus inspire you to move differently today?